Welcome, everybody.
Why don't you bring that piece of paper you're writing on over?
I don't know.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm sorry. Welcome back to the podcast.
Yes.
What you got on there? I remember you had some interesting stuff on there.
Points of interest.
Yeah, but skip past boobies.
What storyline would you like to live out?
Like within fantasy?
Yeah, fantasy or fiction. I mean, well, that's non-fiction, actually.
Let's keep it to fiction.
Fiction? Alright. It's up to you. You can pick fiction.
I don't know. I can't really. It would have to be something with magic. So who has the best magic?
Shit.
What about you? What would your answer be? Let me think about mine for a minute.
Have you seen Merlin?
No. Wait, maybe. Like the little kid becomes a wizard?
The wizard is Merlin, but he follows, I think, King Arthur.
Okay.
He trains him to be a soldier. It's like a real Disney cartoon.
Oh, it's animated.
Yeah, it's animated.
Ah, I see.
Some of the old school
90s animation?
like Anastasia and yeah, like the old school 90s animations.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, so I think anybody in like a rule of power that can actually do some good, significant good. I mean, yeah, some billionaire right now can walk around a hospital giving like $100 to each person. That would do a lot too.
No, it would be more useful to do like what Bill Gates is doing, where he's trying to solve diseases. You know, he's trying to cure malaria and completely eliminate malaria.
Yeah, well,
That's enormous. That's a huge deal.
any type of help helps, but yeah, anybody. I would like to be anybody in that kind of position, like a
Fair enough.
big philanthropist.
You know what? I would like that as well.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't try to tackle serious stuff like malaria. I would try to tackle like small stuff. Just making people's day-to-day life better.
yeah,
Also doing big events like a giant, like, I don't know, like those RC battles, buying
Yeah.
like 1,000 RC airplanes, putting guns on them, and have a giant battle, giant dogfight.
and in the progress of trying to build like a life-size mech, you somehow create like a exosuit that handicapped people can wear.
Have you seen the documentary of that guy? That I think he's a Japanese billionaire, and he just created his own company to develop mechs.
I did not see that.
And they actually hired the artist to make up the drawing to make it look like to create the concept art before they hired the engineers. So they actually had to kind of work backwards. So it was extra difficult. I just remember that being a big part of the documentary. But it fucking works well. You can get inside and pilot it. It still moves and walks really slowly.
I've never
But
heard
it's
of
like
that guy.
15 feet tall. If you look up,
So he's trying to make his own mechs?
he already has.
Really?
Yeah. But the documentary I saw, I think it was Vice. I'm not sure. The documentary I saw, it was still in like its prototype phase.
What does he want to do with them?
Sell them. Of course.
Have a Gundam fight?
Yeah, why not? I can't wait. Can't wait until Gundams are commodified. You just go get a Gundam at 7-Eleven, Best Buy.
Oh my god.
You know, everyone waits for Black Friday and you order your Gundam on Amazon. Deliver 500-foot tall Gundam to the backyard by drone. This is the future, bro.
Buy a tiny drone.
Yeah, exactly.
Piece by piece.
One bolts and screws by themselves.
Yeah.
Some assembly required.
All of it. I hope there's laws against that you have to go to Mars or something to use them.
Who
Otherwise,
knows,
you'd
man?
be just terrorizing the town with a Gundam.
What if that turns out to be sorry, pardon me. What if that turns out to be our fate? You know, what if we get to old age, they develop immortality. So like we're in our 60s or 70s when we take the immortality pill.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're immortal for the rest of time, but as an old person.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just use our generation to develop all of like the cybernetic interface stuff. I think that's where our generation's going to be. Our generation's going to be a lot of guinea pigs.
Mm.
But yeah, we could be like 80 years old and get entombed in a mech. You know, you can never get back out. But it's okay, because inside you're living in like a virtual reality world. And you can pilot this giant mech in real life.
I wouldn't care much about looks, but health. I think they'll just have exosuits and like plastic surgery that just stretches your skin back and you'll look young.
Plastic surgery still looks terrible. Like facelifts,
Yeah.
they still look bad. I don't know, man. I hope they figure that shit out soon.
So like a world of. So it's completely immortal, you said?
That's what I would prefer.
Well, obviously. Everyone wants that.
I would like to be young forever. Not too young. I think like I'm about the right. I'm pretty much where I need to be.
Yeah. So whoever has that cure, hint, hint, hint,
Send it over here first.
email us, please.
Dude, imagine how big that company is going to get. The company that starts reversing aging.
Or he lets it out for free, like for the cure for smallpox.
That would be absurd.
Yeah. Then nobody can stop it. That's what they should do.
Mm.
If there's a price, then never gonna make money off of that.
I mean, shit, if there's a price, everyone's going to buy it no matter how expensive it is.
Yeah.
If someone just says, okay, you take this pill and whatever age you are, you stay that way forever. And the same company sells another pill, makes it so you never get sick.
But if it's $100 billion for that pill, who the fuck is gonna buy it?
But that's the thing, the market would demand what it is. So it would be expensive, but it would be what the market can tolerate. So it would probably be like the price of a house or something like that.
Yeah.
Shit, man, that's worth it though.
Yeah.
Spend the first 30 years of your life making money and like
Buying the pill.
yeah, $1 million pill.
And you're
So-
homeless for the rest of the 30 because
Yeah.
your parents will kick you out.
So at the age of 30, you've double-crossed everyone you've ever met, you sold all your organs, worked your ass off, borrowed, stole, you know, lied your way to $1 million, and then pill. And you got the rest of eternity to say sorry to everyone.
Yeah.
Make new friends. Have a new family. That'd be weird if there were a bunch of immortal people walking around. Also, what about people's knowledge relative to each other? You know?
Like memory capacity and like. If
No, I mean like somebody and like maturity level. Like right now, 50 years old is an old person. What happens when people live to be 1,000 years old? What happens when everyone's taking an immortality pill and a new person is born? By the time they get to be 50 years old, they're still like a baby compared to everyone else. The majority of the people around them are 1,000 years old or more, thousands of years old.
At that point, I think we would colonize other planets and stuff.
Oh, at that point, we're talking about Cartership 2 civilization. We're talking about a massive fucking civilization with quintillions of people. Quadrillions, decillions of people.
Having babies just to have babies. Like the first.
Well, if you're young and healthy forever, then you never have to stop having children. Right now, the way it works is like you have
Desire to.
an opening when you're not too young and not too old where you can have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that opening is even smaller if you have to raise your children.
Yeah.
But what happens when you can still have children when you're thousands of years old? And 100% of children survive. That's already almost the case.
I think that feeling of having a child would disappear.
I think people would have more children, but over absurd lifespan. Like now, people are having a couple of children in less than 100 years, with less than 100-year lifespan on average. What happens when people live thousands of years? I think that they'll have dozens of children, but over a much longer time. Especially if we still have the same maturity rates, which we probably won't. People will get more and more mature at a younger and younger age. What happens when kids who are like 10 years old are competent enough in the world around them to do anything an adult can do? Like, yeah, they don't have the same experiences, but we're going to become more and more efficient at teaching children what they need to know in order to survive in the society. And especially when AI takes over education, man, forget about it.
Any type of immortal, I think, would be amazing.
I wouldn't want true immortality where like nothing can kill you, because then I think you'd be like One Punch Man. You'd be bored. Suddenly everything would lose its excitement. What I would want to be is like a Spider-Man type character where you can die. It's just really hard to kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would still suck.
Why?
One Punch Man? Because then everybody would be like One Punch Man.
No, I want that just for me, not for everyone.
Oh, for you? Yeah.
Get out of here. You think I want superpowers for everyone? It'd be fucking chaos. Superpowered babies. Baby can knock down a building.
Imagine being in prison or jailed up as an immortal.
You couldn't. Oh my god. Yeah, see, that's the problem. If you have true immortality where nothing can kill you, but you're just a normal human, that can go so bad so easily.
Yeah.
All it takes is for someone to find out that you're immortal. Then all it takes is for somebody who has more power than you to find out that you're immortal. And then you're fucked. Because, they can just throw you in a prison cell for 100,000 years. Now, in the perspective that you would have, because you would live trillions of years, you would eventually outlive the elements that the prison is made out of. However, you wouldn't want to wait that long. Just sitting there, twiddling your thumbs for 1 trillion years. That's why you have to have incredible power with immortality. Otherwise, you can so easily be trapped and contained, imprisoned.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes a prison. Your mind.
That was in a movie. The movie Immortals.
Never seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
You should watch it.
Shit, I should. Does he become imprisoned?
They get released.
Oh wow, is that the spoiler for the movie?
Yeah.
Alright, well, I'm not gonna see it then. I'll take your word for it though. It was a good one.
I'm sure you've seen it.
I don't think so.
So, this could work in conjunction with being immortal, but I was saying one day if you're at a patio of like this $5,000, $10,000 hotel per night, what would you be thinking at that point? And it's kind of like a two-part question.
Do you want me to answer seriously or sarcastically?
Whatever.
My first thought is, why did I spend so much money on a hotel, and am I paying for it? Anyway.
It's kind of a question. The two-part side is
so if I was staying in an unbelievable hotel room, what would I be thinking?
Yeah, unbelievable hotel in the future. What would you be thinking?
How far in the future?
10, 20 years.
Oh, okay, that's not that long.
15 years.
Okay, so nothing radically is different.
Let's say 7 years, yeah.
Why am I at a hotel? Do I not have a home?
It's a $10,000 hotel. $10,000 hotel.
So I'd be pretty super fucking stinking rich, I hope, if I'm staying in that.
Yeah, you're stinking rich. Don't worry about the money.
Well then, I don't know what I would be thinking. I'd probably be high off my tits.
Because
if your question is what would I be thinking if I was experiencing something great,
yeah,
I just try to clear my mind. When I'm in an experience that I know is special,
yeah,
like and I feel like, wow, this has gravity to it, I should really collect myself. That's what I do. I just clear my mind and try to
You get all zenned out.
and try to really be in the moment.
Totally. So, how well do you think you see things in hindsight? Like, is that a situation that you are looking back in the future, or you just completely just zoned in?
You definitely look back on it in the future. You should, at least. I think that looking at things in hindsight is so important to developing perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people who come across as short-sighted or like misguided,
Yeah.
I think they just lack perspective. Or petty. A lot of people seem really petty, and it's just because they don't have perspective. They don't have an understanding that what they're concerned with isn't actually important.
Mm-hmm.
But some people just can't gain it. I think that it requires like introspective objectivity. Like, you have to be unbiased about yourself and the way that you perceive the things around you, and unbiased about what really happened in a given situation rather than what you think happened or what you wanted to happen.
Yeah. By no means am I against children, but like, what if you're expressing problems with trying to narrate and like discuss topics with somebody, and then you have kids, and then you're having trouble like teaching the kid.
Well,
You're reliving the whole idea of like it's hard to like talk to somebody and communicate with somebody else.
That's definitely the case. It's definitely the case that you're going to have trouble communicating with children.
Mm-hmm.
And I already have trouble communicating with adults.
Yeah.
However, I think it's simpler with children as long as you don't expect them to be able to communicate. I think adults who talk to children expecting them to speak back are going to be disappointed. But children communicate so well, or at least they try their best to communicate without really needing to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it has a lot to do with empathy. If you can put yourself in the child's position,
Mm-hmm.
then it's much easier to communicate with them. That's why I never get upset when my students aren't paying attention in class. I never paid attention in my classes. And if I didn't want to be there, then there was nothing the teacher could tell me to make me pay attention. So if I have students who aren't paying attention, I say, it's okay. When I teach children's classes, I really empathize. However, when I teach adults or college students, I tell them the very first day of school that I don't take attendance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to come to the class and sleep, you might as well just stay home and sleep in your bed, because it doesn't make a difference. You're not helping. You're not helping your grade by me seeing you in there sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well just stay home. But they never take it to heart. My students never, ever take it to heart. There's always like 30% of every class, any given class, will not be paying attention at any given time.
Wow.
And so there's a small percentage of those students who come to every single class but never, ever, ever, ever participate or pay attention. They're sleeping every day, or they're on their phones, or they're doing work for another class. And so I think that's a big difference between Chinese and American students. If I told American students that I don't take attendance, then they would never ever come to class unless they absolutely had to for like a project or for an exam.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell the Chinese students, but they still come to class. I think that they think that it's going to make me look more favorably at them at the end of the semester when we're doing grading.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't, and I tell them it doesn't, but I don't think they believe me.
Have you ever had repeated students? Like,
Yeah.
you see them the next level or something
Mm-hmm.
like that?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I've had some students I've had for 3 years, the whole time I've been here, the whole time I've been in China. I mean,
Wow.
and I've definitely seen big progress. They're younger students. They're about to finish middle school. I think they're in 8th grade.
Hmm.
And so they're really unhappy because middle school is, they're working harder in middle school than I worked at any point in high school. and their high school is going to be way more difficult than I worked in college. I think the content itself is probably pretty reasonable in terms of its difficulty, but the volume of it is absurd. I mean, we're talking about like you go into any Chinese high school and every single student has like a 2-foot stack of paperwork, of books and papers and work pages and fucking workbooks and all sorts of crazy bullshit. It's really shocking how much work they do. So they're all upset about this because they know that they're going into a phase of life where they're not going to have friends anymore, they're not going to have relationships, they're not going to meet any new people, they're not going to have holidays, they're not going to do anything for the next 4 or 5 years. Except study every single day. And that's what we were talking about in the last podcast, because it's a tragedy, because if they put that level of effort into useful stuff, then truly the Chinese would have the greatest, the most powerful population in terms of intellect, the most powerful minds in the world. If their students were working that hard with that much determination, but they were studying really useful stuff, truly useful stuff. Their subjects are just as meaningless as ours. You know, the SAT was worthless. Such a tiny fraction of the percentage of the people who graduated from our high school will ever use any of the SAT information. And their Gaokao is the same. What do you think about that? What do you think, what subjects should be mandatory in school that are not?
Psychology.
Okay, that's interesting.
Either psychology and philosophy.
Okay, I agree with that. I don't think it's a massive priority, but I agree with it.
Yeah, it's probably not a massive priority, but
what about I was thinking more of a focus of like, how do you make children as
successful as possible?
Yeah, as set up as possible for our society. Like, I was thinking something along the lines of mandatory programming classes, mandatory software classes, mandatory
vocational stuff.
Yeah, vocational, like electrical classes, things like this.
It's vocational just...
I have no idea. We should Google it.
Yeah. Vocational, hands-on market training.
Something like that. Like skills.
Yeah, market embedding.
Physical skills, I think. I don't know, whatever.
No, I mean, like, they should, like, implicate market-ready job shadowing. Like, how you shadow your parents' work or something.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, they had the Edison for our high school.
Well, Edison was just trade skills.
Yeah, well, that's not exactly what I'm talking about, but it's pretty close.
They had
I mean, let me put it this way. Through Edison, you could have gotten licensed to be either an electrician, a plumber, or HVACer.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I don't want to be any of that.
And then you could have left high school and they guaranteed you a job in one of the companies that funds Edison.
Yeah.
And then within a few more years, you would get your next level license. A few more years after that, you get your next level license, or however it progresses. And, you know, by the time you would conventionally have finished college, you'd be making $50 an hour or more.
No, yeah.
Working 40 hours a week, making a shitload of money. You know? You're just sacrificing so much experience and perspective. Because, sure, becoming a plumber gives you some perspective, but things like that are so focused. Like, you will certainly be an expert in plumbing, but how much do you know about other things? Probably limited knowledge and experience, limited study.
Yeah. Shit, as long as you can get the job done, I mean.
But what I'm trying to talk about is, how do you make the most useful students?
Oh, like I said, shit, as long as you can get the job done. I'm glad.
What job?
Like, capitalism, it only pays you to do the job that you're intended to do. They're not asking you to be any better. They're not asking you to be any worse. They just want to see you do the job that you're paid for.
Okay. We had 8 subjects a day in Wooten
Mm-hmm.
in high school. So let's take one for lunch. All right. Now we have 7 left.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what are the 7? What are the 7 that every student in the country has to learn to make them the most useful person?
I'd keep it the same.
That's absurd. Our students are worthless. Our students are coming out of school, other than their confidence and their blind confidence, which is better than being completely shy, and their creativity are their only powers. I mean, until you get to college in America, you're wasting your time. And then even in college nowadays, you have to be so careful, because unless you're going for hard science, like a STEM field,
Mm-hmm.
then you're pretty much wasting your time.
What is a STEM field? What do you mean?
Science, technology,
Engineering,
engineering,
math.
mathematics or mechanics or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. It's like science, technology, or
Science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
yeah, something like that.
Well,
Because the point of college is like it's like a time machine, and that applies to a lot of fields. Any field that's like very physical, like I was doing sculpture.
yeah.
I didn't do any. I was undeclared my first year, and then I was there for another 3.5 years. I did an extra semester, so I did 3.5 years as an as an art student,
Mm-hmm.
trying to major in ceramics and sculpture. I can say absolutely confidently, in that 3.5 years, I probably got double that or triple that, the equivalent of time, if I was doing this as a hobby on the side. If I was working full time and then I was like renting studio space and going in my free time to work on these projects,
Yeah.
it would have taken me 9 or 10 years to get the same amount of work done in that 3.5 years. And it wouldn't have been at the same level of quality, because I wouldn't have had a bunch of professionals, working me through stuff and helping me with problems and teaching me stuff. So in a field like that, where you have to do hands-on stuff, like let's say chemistry or something like that, where you need a lot of equipment, or engineering,
Yeah.
then yeah, you definitely need to go to college.
I mean, I wouldn't change the subjects, but I would change the material.
Yeah, for a lot
Like
of
some things in history, I would not want
Yes.
to learn the same thing for
over and
3
over
years.
again. I completely agree. So things like history, you have to have the topics changed. However, things like science and math, I think they should be optional. Like, let's say I want to take math, I should have a choice between a list of math classes. But the only mandatory math should be like basic adding, subtraction, multiplication, division, and
Yeah.
then it should go straight into taxes and all that shit.
Yeah.
The stuff you actually have to use. No matter what you do in your life, you have to pay taxes. You have to understand how that shit works.
Yep. That was a helpful class.
And
Taught me a lot about business.
other classes for interest, for loans, for mortgages, for things like this.
Yeah.
So we have 7 periods. Now let's say we have 6 periods left, because you have to have a math class of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to choose the material. Now let's say another one should probably be language, should be English. So now we have 5 classes left.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, I think those 5 classes should be electives.
You think those classes should be electives?
Yeah. I think there should be, you have 4 years in high school. If you have something like a philosophy class,
Yeah.
you should not take that for 4 years. I think there's just better things to do with your time. I'm not saying that philosophy is not important,
Yeah.
but 1 or 2 years of philosophy should definitely be all you should take.
I guess philosophy would stand at the same pedestal as you and art.
I don't understand.
Like, you don't necessarily need philosophy for 4 years, but you don't necessarily need art for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um,
I think the things that you do need for the whole time are language,
mm-hmm.
some type of history. It needs to be much higher quality content than we had when we were at school.
Mm-hmm.
And then there has to be something related to our current situation in the world. Like, I think that we had programming classes in Wooten, but they were fucking meaningless. I don't want to spend 6 months so that I can make a shitty web page.
Yeah. Engineering science, you design Lego bots to move things around, scan things. Like if you draw a piece of paper, or if you draw a line on a piece of paper, it can follow that line. It can see through. It can see it at night. Do like sorts of things like that.
I like that. I like the idea of having very well-funded and well-supplied elective classes, but something like coding should be mandatory, I think.
Or not necessarily coding, but something that's like in the market right now.
It should be coding.
It should just be coding.
Or it should be something that has to do with software and engineering. Now, you shouldn't have to do well in it, but you should have to be exposed to it. So I think there's a lot of classes that you should have to do your freshman year just to be exposed, and then if you're interested, you can continue if you want. So like freshman year should be a big experimental year where you're taking all sorts of different shits, like a scattergun. Yeah. You take coding, you take, I don't know, fucking ethics, philosophy.
And you said math.
You take, as
an elective.
Economics. You take finance. You take all these things. And then your second year, that's when you can start mixing in things like history
And this is in high school?
Yeah. But that first year, you should be allowed to sample a bunch of different very important industries, contemporarily important industries like software. Software engineering is huge, and it's not going anywhere. At this point, you should be allowed to take. There should be something for AI in high school at the high school level. Our education system shouldn't be decades behind at all times. That's what it seems like. It always seems like we're teaching kids something that didn't matter, that hasn't mattered for a decade when they're learning it.
I won't disagree that college does supply some amazing classes, and I would not disagree on the argument of putting college classes in high school. I think that would be amazing, like at least the subjects or something like financing and stuff like that. That would be probably a great idea. But we can do a sign off.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. It's been another podcast with Brian and Arman. Take care, and
if you have any comments about anything that we say, please feel free to leave a comment.
Yeah, we will read and reply to all comments, and hope you have a great day.
Yeah, take care, guys.